Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards, and today's session is going to be focused around another small group session. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into part one of this week's session, we're starting off with a SAQ based drill. But before we get into the drill, we're going to have a look at how many players we've got and the equipment we're using this week. So we've got 4 players for all of the drills throughout. We will have a goalkeeper towards the end, but we can talk about adapting that later on. If you do have less players or even more players, you can still do all of the SAQ based drills, and you just have to adapt different parts of the technical drills. In terms of equipment, we always use the balls and the cones, and then if you've got ladders, hurdles and then poles as well, that will come better for us later on in the session for different drills. Okay, so the first part of this week's session, we're looking at a star shape for our first SAQ based drill. So in terms of the setup, I either use poles or cones to mark out the area. So we're going 12 yards up to the first cone. Okay, so it's 6 yards of width from this pole here and to this pole here. Okay, so meet it halfway in the middle at 3 yards and then do your 12 yards up. And then the width from this pole here to this pole here, so our width there is 12 yards again. Okay, so you can go halfway up here and do 6 yards out, and then do 3 yards out in here, 6 yards, and then another 3 yards from there. So what we're looking at doing is sprinting and turning and bursting out. Okay, so we're going to do it without the ball, and then we're going to do it with the ball. So we're going to sprint directly opposite, okay, to the pole in the middle. Sprint directly back, okay, to the pole towards the end. Then we're going to sprint out to the left, turn, sprint out to the right, turn, and then back to the start. Okay, as soon as that player has crossed the pole there, we will all move up, and then the next player will go. So it's up to the top, okay, nice low body position around the pole. So the reason we want to use the poles is so that the players can treat it more as a defender, okay, and it's a harder object to get around. Instead of when we use cones, it's easy for the players to get around, okay, and it's easy for the footwork, whereas with the poles, they've got to get the whole body around it, so they've got to adjust and then they can burst out, okay. So we're coming back down to the side, bursting out to the left, bursting out to the right, and then one last sprint through there. Okay, so you can do as many reps and sets as you'd like. You can maybe even bring back pedals in as well, so they could sprint up to the top, back pedal out, and then it could be a sprint again, sprint across, and then back pedal to the start. Okay, it's however you see fit. And then with the ball, again, it's focusing on that dribbling, that close control, so bursting out, nice speed, okay, always in control of the ball, nice fast feet around the pole, bursting out again, okay, so we're changing direction at all times, okay, so it's important to have that. Always have control of the ball, fast feet around the poles, and then back through. Okay, again, you can do as many reps and sets as you wish. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're moving into our second SAQ based drill. Okay, we're going to be focusing on our sprinting, our back pedaling, and then our passing and dribbling. Okay, so the players are going to start here. So the setup is going to be 12 yards across, 12 yards up and 12 yards across, and then 6 yards in the middle. Okay, and then we're coming in 3 yards here. Okay, and then it's 6 yards from the middle pole to the next pole, and then 3 yards again. So we're going a 12 by 12 box with 6 yards in the middle. So what the players are going to do, they're going to sprint into the middle, okay, around the pole, back pedal, and then burst out to the next one, okay. Then again, it's sprint into the middle, back pedal, okay, and then across to the next one again. And then we're sprinting in, back pedaling, sprint across, sprint in, back pedal, sprint across. Okay, so it's good for transitions. Okay, so we're sprinting in, let's say as a midfielder or a fullback, sprinting in to mark someone, back pedaling, okay, back into position, and we're bursting forward. Okay, so it's good for lots of different positions. Could be a winger, striker, in terms of, making movement to then get away. So working on that nice speed in, okay, creating space, transitioning, and then bursting out, okay, into space. How we're going to adapt it, the coach will go in the middle, the player will start with the ball, okay. So you're going to play the ball into the coach, they're going to sprint in, back pedal, receive it back off the coach, and then drive with the ball towards the next pole. Okay, and then once they get there, they'll play into the coach again, sprint in, back pedal, receive off the coach again, get themselves over to the next side, play in, sprint in, back pedal, receive back off the coach, dribble to the next one, and then the final one again, play into the coach, sprint in, back pedal, receive, and drive the ball in. Okay, so we're doing the same thing, we're just working on the ball, working with the ball now, okay? So we're doing that sprint and doing that back pedal, and then we're working on our little technical bits with our passing and our dribbling. If you have 5 players, what you can do is just have one of the players going in the middle instead of having the coach in there, so you could have your extra player in there to do the passing, and then after they go, they could swap with somebody else who's just finished, however you see fit. But if you have an even number of players, you want to try and get one play, you have to do yourself as the coach in the middle to play the ball. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to part 3 of this week's session. Okay, so moving into part 3 of this week's session, we're now moving into our final SAQ-based drill of this week. So we're going to be setting up the same as what we did for part 2. So 12 yards up, 12 yards across, and then 6-yard gap in the middle. This is where you're going to bring your ladders and your hurdles in. If you don't have a ladder, okay, you can put small cones down, okay, for the players just to come over, because you've just got to get 2 feet in between each gap in the ladder, so in between the cones. And with the hurdles, you can try and use bigger cones if you have them, okay, so the players have got to step over, okay, so we're looking for those high knees and pumping the arms when they're getting through with 1 foot in each one. So we're going to go without the ball and then with the ball. So the player's going to sprint up, okay, so do the 12-yard sprint, back pedal into the middle, then they're going to get through the ladder any way they want, just 2 feet, okay, and then they're going to back pedal to the end pole here, and then it's going to be sprinting through the hurdles, okay, which are going to be quite small, okay, and then it's going to be 1 foot in each one, okay, so they're really bursting out to then explode out through the pole there, okay, and as soon as the first player has got into the ladders here, the next player can go. So there's a little bit less rest time, okay, so you tend to want to do 3 reps and then have a rest, okay, so once they get to here and burst out, okay, jog it back to the start, and by the time they get back, it'll be ready to go again. How we adapt it, the coach comes in here, okay, so the player's going to sprint in, around the pole, back pedal, okay, they're going to receive this side, they're going to play a 1-2 with the coach, okay, receive in space, drive in, okay, and then play back to the coach. Again, once they're going through the ladders, next player can go, okay, so get in, get back, okay, play a 1-2 with the coach, into space, drive in with the ball, play in, and then again, we're looking at that footwork, okay, so nice fast feet, back pedal, and then bursting out, okay, and exploding out into space. We will now move into our final animation before moving on to this week's 4-corner model. Okay, so looking at this week's 4-corner model, starting off with technical and tactical, looking at our SAQ-based drills, so keeping our heels off the ground, okay, our footwork, our pumping of our arms, and then our close control. Okay, so when we're dribbling, obviously around the poles and around the cones, it's important to keep that ball close to the body so then we can burst out into space. When we're going through the hurdles, okay, pumping them arms, okay, moving our feet nice and quick around the poles, okay, keeping our heels off the ground, especially when we're backpedaling as well, so that we can shuffle nice and quick. In terms of our technical drills, okay, so what we're moving into now, we're looking at our accuracy of our passes and our crosses, because we're looking at a crossing and finishing drill as well, okay, so it's important that, you know, with our crosses, it's important to aim the crosses where people are going to be running into and not where they're going from, because if someone's making a run into the box, the last thing they want is the ball coming straight to them, okay, we'd rather be running onto the ball so we can get more speed and more power to finish. And then our passes, when we're playing quick passes, which we will be doing for a passing and receiving drill, we want it to feet at all times, okay, we want to get the power on the pass so it's nice and firm so we can keep punching the balls in. Then looking at our receiving skills, okay, so our body position to receive the ball, then our first touch, okay, so we're always shaping our body to where we're receiving the ball from and then where our next movement is going to be. ability to turn quickly, okay? So what we're looking at on one of the drills is dribbling and turning whilst protecting the ball, okay? So we're looking at shifting the ball from one foot and then turning with the other foot, okay? So it's our ability to get our body across and then chop away with the other foot, okay? So we're looking to turn as quick as we can. Now moving into our psychological corner this week, focus is a big one, okay? So focusing on where our movement's taking us, okay? Focusing on what foot we're going to use to dribble and then what we're going to turn with, and then focusing on people's runs into the box. So focusing on our own run of when's that the crosser of the ball going to take their touch, so when am I going to make my movement? Same with the crosser, getting that head up to have a look at where the striker's going to be running to, okay? What type of ball are we going to play in? Is it going to be drilled across the floor? Is it going to be a cut back? Is it going to be a whip ball in the air? So little things like that. Spatial awareness, okay, so having a look, scanning our surroundings, okay, so having a look of where's the space going to be, okay, where am I moving to next? And then in terms of, again, a runner into the box, okay, where's the space to run into? Is it near post? Is it back post? Is it holding off to then make a late run into the box? And then finally, positive attitude again, especially with those SAQ-based drills, okay, because it is hard work, there is quite a few repetitions going on, you know, fast feet for a long amount of time, okay, bursting out an explosive speed. When you're doing a lot of reps, okay, it's hard to stay focused, hard to keep a good attitude, so it's important that players, both individually and as a group, are keeping a positive attitude throughout. Moving into our physical corner, okay, so first off we're looking at protecting the ball. So in terms of our dribbling drill, okay, so what we're looking to do is drive into space, and when the defender closes down, we're looking to protect the ball and turn out the opposite way. Okay, so that means we're getting our arm out, okay, we're getting our body across, so we're looking at those ABCs, our agility, our balance, our coordination, okay, to get a nice body position to turn, enabling ourselves to be able to get our body across and use the other foot, okay, and not doing it in an awkward way, to do it nice and smooth. Our speed, both with and without the ball, so making our runs into space, our sprinting, our backpedaling, okay, our exploding out as well, so we're looking at our explosiveness, so when we're going through them hurdles, the fast feet, okay, heels off the ground, pumping our arms to then explode out into space, okay, so again, a fullback, a winger, a striker exploding into space to receive the ball and getting on the end of crosses. And then finally, moving into our social corner, so communication, so we're looking at demanding the ball. It's okay, so when we're doing our passing and receiving drill, demanding when you want the ball, so telling someone to hold it, because if you're on a back pedal and someone's playing it whilst you're on the back pedal, it's hard to adapt, so tell a player, hold the ball and then demand the ball when you want it, okay, so then you're going to take it on the back foot and play across. Same with the striker, same with the crosser as well. Where do you want the ball? Do you want it in front? Do you want it to feet? With the striker, are you going front post? Are you going back post? Giving your teammates information so that they're more aware of where you want the ball. And then praising and support, okay, so obviously we're getting good passes, we're getting good accuracy across us, we're scoring goals as well, okay, making sure that we're giving our teammates and as coaches as well, giving the players lots of support, lots of praise to make them carry on doing it, and it improves that attitude as well, you know, gives the players a good sense of confidence, okay, to keep on doing the same things. And then finally, working as a unit, okay, so in our passing drills, in our dribbling drills, in our crossing and finishing, and again, in our SAQ-based drills, pushing each other, okay, to keep working hard, okay, even when we're tired. So when we're going through those ladders, those hurdles, and then we're back to the start again, keep giving each other, like we say, that praise and support, and our encouragement to keep going. Okay, so now we're moving into part 4 of this week's session, which is our first technical-based drill. So we're looking at a passing and receiving drill. We've got 2 different parts in this drill, okay? So the setup is going to be from the first pole here into the middle one is 5 yards, and then a further 5 yards back is our second pole here. And then it's going to be the same setup on this side as well, but we're only using the first 3 poles here, and then we're going to adapt and bring in our extra player, okay, once all the players have had a couple of goes. So the player's going to start in the middle here. So on this side, they're going to receive on the right first and then go to the left. Oh, sorry, on the left first and then go to the right, and then it's the opposite side once we bring in the extra player. So we're going to start in the middle, so it's all about timing our movements, okay, so they're going to come out here, they're going to receive a 1-2, so we're going to play into that opposite side, and this player is going to do their movements, get around the pole, a 1-2 again, and then we're going to back pedal, okay, to receive on the outside behind this pole, so we're playing in, receiving on the back foot to take the ball forward, to then punch the ball back in to the player here. We're going to make our movement back into the middle again, don't make it directly to the left, okay, we're trying to work on our timing of our runs. Okay, so we're coming in here, then it's out again, 1-2 movements, 1-2, receive again on the back pedal, bring it out and go that way. Okay, so the players will do it for 1 minute each, so they'll be in pairs. So then the second time they do it, they will just go the opposite way. Okay, so they'll come out to the right first, 1, 2, okay, get back, receive on the back foot again, play out, and back in. Okay, so we're working on receiving on our left foot and our right foot. Okay, so how we then adapt that next is that we bring in an extra player, okay, and we're going both ways. So same again, this side, they receive on the left first, okay, so it's going to be this way, get back, this way, play 1-2, get back. This is so we're receiving on the outside of the pole, okay, so we're playing out here, playing into this player here who's going to take the ball across the body, get ourselves in, receive on the right hand side first, play it back, then receive on the left hand side, play back, then we're going to play in, open out, and play back in and do the same for a minute again. So we're doing lots of little passes, passing, receiving, moving away, okay, then we're opening out and playing the ball in. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to part 5 of this week's session. Now moving into part 5 of this week's session, our second technical based drill, we're looking at a dribbling and turning drill, okay? So the play is going to start here with this player. In terms of our setup, okay, we're just going 10 yards depth and 10 yards across. We don't want it too big, okay, so we want the intent to be nice and high. So the player is going to play in here for a 1-2, okay, then we're going to play high. This player's movement will eventually be in here, but just not yet. When this player receives it, they're going to drive to this player out here, okay, using the left foot. Okay, so you're going to drive in with the left foot, and then what we want them to do is step across the ball to protect the ball, okay, and then take it away with their right foot, okay, so they've closed down, protected the ball, got their arm out, okay, shifted the body across, took the ball away with the right foot, and then they're going to drive in here. This player then will follow up to this pole here. Once they've turned, the next player will come in. So again, we're going to drive in with the right foot now, okay, get our body across, okay, and then take it away with the left foot. Okay, so this player will have made their movement there. Once we've turned, this player here will go straight across, okay, and then the player who's turned will take the ball back into the middle. Okay, so we'll go through it again. So it's in, back, playing up, okay, drive with the left into here, step across the ball as if we're doing a drag back, okay, so step over the ball, take it away with the right, so we're protecting that ball, okay, so the only chance the defender would have with us is to give a foul away, or by trying to pinch the ball through the legs, okay, which means they're going through the back of the player, which won't happen, okay, so then that player will follow up there. So then we're driving with our right, okay, so we've got a good balance, taking it across the body again, so we're protecting the ball, so we can turn out the way we want to go, and then taking it on our left. Okay, so this player's moved up there, this player's moved across, and then we're going back to the start. Okay, so we want the players driving into space, nice and quick, protecting that ball, driving in again and turning. Okay, so working on protecting the ball. An example which is good to see this is when Sadio Mane scored for Liverpool against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. When Manuel Neuer came out to close him down, he protects the ball, okay, by getting his body out, turns with his right, and then he scores with his left. Okay, so the only Neuer couldn't go near him because he couldn't touch him because it would have been a penalty, because he had no way of winning the ball. So he's protected the ball, turned where he wanted to go, and then he's executed his next move by scoring, and again he could have been able to dribble. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Okay, so moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now looking at a crossing and finishing drill. So if you do have a goalkeeper to use, that would be perfect. If not, coach can just go in goal, or since it is crossing and finishing, it's quite instinctive, you can put the poles in the goal and try and get the players aiming for the corner to score an extra point. Okay, and you can even set up top corners to be even more points, but with the goalkeeper, it becomes more realistic because we can have rebounds and stuff as well. So the play is going to start in here. Okay, you can set it up however big you want it to be. So I've just gone 10 yards of width in between these two players here, okay, and then a 15-yard pass into this player here, and then we've got a 25-yard pass out wide here, okay. If you're working with younger children, that's fine, you can have it a little bit less, and it can just be more of a combination to play wide, but we're looking for a switch of play. So the ball's going to start here. Okay, we've got a mannequin in here, or a pole, or even a couple of poles, just to put them together. Okay, so this is so when the ball gets into here, it's either taking the ball away or we're going to play a 1-2. Okay, so it's just something in the way, so the player's got to keep it realistic. So the ball's going to start with the central player here. We're going to play out wide, okay, for a 1-2, receive into space. Okay, then the defender's going to pull out, or a central midfielder, receive it in here. Okay, and then this player in here is going to time their run back in here. Striker's going to time their run into the box. We're going to play it out wide to a fullback or a winger, who's then going to take a touch. Their decision then is either to play a 1-2 with the central midfielder, or drive in to then take the ball away. Okay, so as if they're taking somebody on. And then our movement then is the striker to move wherever they want, front or back post, and then our centre midfielder to get in the box as well. Okay, so it could be a time run, okay, on the edge of the box for a pullback, or they can go back post if the striker goes near post. Cross in, okay, for someone to meet, and then we're looking to score. Okay, in terms of movements, it could be that you do have your centre midfielders and your wingers out here, so you keep the players for maybe 5 reps and then swap them over, okay, since we are working in a smaller group. Obviously, once we go back into normal sessions where you might have 8 or 9 players or even more, you can have 2 players waiting, so players can just move up and change over. So again, what we're looking at, okay, is nice and quick. You can do 5 reps, so it's in, back, get into space, play it up to the midfielder who's pulled out into space. So again, we're getting them receiving skills, timing of our runs. Again, we want the fullback so they can even receive on the run. Okay, so that can just be straight in front. Okay, but if we're receiving here, it can be a nice 1-2 into space, which then gives us more of a chance to get that run, late run into the box for the midfielder. So it could come into the midfielder here. They have a shot, gets rebounded, and the striker's in there to score. Okay, so we're adapting to different scenarios. We want them to follow in. Okay, so we're looking, like we're saying, focusing on that accuracy on the crosses from the fullback, okay, and then our instinctive finishes first time if we can from the striker and the midfielder into the goal, okay. And obviously if you don't have a goalkeeper, what you could do as well is put some poles and cones, okay, in the box here, so there's different areas to aim at. So it could be you put a pole here to mimic a fullback, and then 2 in the middle here for centre backs, and then 1 in here, okay, as if it's another fullback or a midfielder, so the players have got to time their runs and get in front of there. Okay, so it's just something blocking them to make it more realistic. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. For more content, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and TikTok. The links will be in the description below, and we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.